Well, hello everybody and welcome to Chef's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make an Earl Grey tea cake. And this is based on a recipe that I saw on King Arthur Baking, but I'm slightly changing it using more orange zest, and I'm doing a different icing on the top, and I'm using a different type of pan. In that original recipe they recommended a particular long low pan, but they said you could use a 9x5 or a 8.5x4 inch loaf pan and that would work well. Well, a 9x5 loaf pan has the same volume dimensions as a 6 cup bundt pan, which is what this is. So I'm going to use that simply because it's a nice round cake, gives quite a nice pattern. So I have greased and floured my pan. If you're using a loaf pan, you might want to put some parchment paper in the bottom at least, but grease and flour the sides as well. So I start off by preheating my oven to 160 degrees Celsius, 140 Celsius with a fan, 320 Fahrenheit, and then I'll go on to the ingredients. And for the ingredients, I have 200 grams, which is 1 1/3 cups based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. I have 170 grams, 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 113 grams, half a cup of cream cheese, 4 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA, 30 milliliters, 2 tablespoons of milk. I have 4 grams, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 4.5 grams, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 5 milliliters, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 300 grams, 1.5 cups of caster sugar, and here I have 10 grams of Earl Grey tea out of tea bags. The King Arthur recipe said 4 to 5 tea bags, 8 grams in weight. Well, I used 4 of my tea bags and it's 10 grams in weight, and I'm sticking with the 10 grams because I read some reviews which said that you couldn't really taste the bergamot, you couldn't taste the Earl Grey tea particularly well, so I'm using just that little bit more. And this is a very strong scented tea, my Earl Grey. And again, you can get different qualities of Earl Grey tea bags. Some have more flavour than others, and this is a very flavoursome one. Then I also have, for an icing on the top, 110 grams, 1 cup of icing sugar, and 30 milliliters, 2 teaspoons of orange juice. I also have the zest from 1 orange. Again, King Arthur recommended the zest from 1/4 of an orange, but I'm using the whole zest, and it's not that much actually. Orange zest tends to be quite thin at times, and I'm going to put that into my sugar, and I'm going to just rub that in the sugar between my fingers, as I like to do, to try to release some of the oils from the zest. And then I'm just going to stir that through. And the reason for that is that I want to add my Earl Grey tea powder in, and I don't want it all clumping on the zest. I want it to spread through nicely, and it will get mixed through. And this is going to fleck the cake batter basically, as well as give it a flavour, or it should fleck the cake batter, he says, hopefully. And with that just mixed through like that, I'm going to go on to make the batter. And to make the batter, I'm going to use my stand mixer. You can do it with a hand mixer. You could even do it all by hand. So I'm going to put my sugar, zest and tea into the bowl, and then I'm going to add in the cream cheese and the butter. And my butter is softened, I should say. And with my whisks in, I'm going to mix this until it's fully combined for take about a minute or so, and I'll scrape the bowl down as necessary. So I've whisked that and it's nice and fluffy. So I'm going to add in my eggs one at a time, and I'm going to mix those each time until they're fully combined. So the eggs are mixed in nicely, so I'll add in my vanilla and my milk, and I'll give those another whisk around. That's going to loosen the batter even more. So the last thing to go in is the dry ingredients, and for that I'm going to just add in my baking powder and my salt, and then I'm going to give that a stir around. That's just to get the baking powder mixed through a little bit, really. And I'll put about half of the flour in. And I'll mix that on a low speed. And then I'll add the remainder. And mix it again. And that's mixed well enough. So I'm going to put that into my prepared cake pan. So I've scraped my bowl down, and I'm just distributing the batter into my pan. So I'll spread that around, and with that in my pan I'm going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for 55 minutes at first. In the King Arthur recipe it suggests that if you bake it in the 12-inch by 4-inch pan it will take 55 to 60 minutes, but if you bake it in a loaf pan it may take an extra 15 minutes. So after 55 minutes I would test it with a skewer, and if it doesn't come out clean I'll cover it with aluminium foil and bake it for a further 10 to 15 minutes until the skewer does come out clean. Then I'll take it out of the oven and leave it to rest for 10 minutes. Then I'll turn it out onto a wire rack and leave it to cool, and once it's cooled completely I'll come back and we'll make the icing. I baked my cake in my bundt tin for 55 minutes, and I tested it with a skewer and it came out clean. So that meant that in the bundt tin it was cooked after that time, so I took it out and put it onto a wire rack. Now I should say that there was actually too much batter for my bundt tin. I'd read reviews where somebody else had used exactly the same bundt tin as me and said it worked perfectly. Maybe I had a little bit too much air in my batter, but if you're using a loaf tin or a bundt tin like this, you only need to fill it to about an inch below the top of the tin. If you fill it right to the top like I did, then it's going to overflow slightly, and mine did overflow slightly, so I quickly slipped a baking tray underneath to catch any that may have any batter that may have dripped off, and I sort of went very carefully with it, but it's baked up quite nicely. I'll show it to you shortly, but first of all we'll go on to make the icing. And to make the icing I'm going to sift my icing sugar because it's lumpy, and I'm going to do it carefully just by using a spoon into another bowl, and then I'm going to put about a tablespoon of my orange juice into the icing. I'm going to stir it around, and then I'll add more in a little bit at a time until I have a mixture which is almost pourable but still quite thick, because I want it to run down the side of the cake a little bit but not too runny. So I'll just add a drop more liquid, and a little drop more, and a little drop more, just a very small amount. And as you can see, that's runny enough. So then I'm going to put that onto my cake. And there's the cake, lovely and soft on the top. So I'm just going to take some of the icing and I'm going to drizzle it over the top. I don't need too much. And I think that's enough. So I'm going to leave that now and let that icing set up. And then once it has set up a little bit, I'll cut a slice and I'll come back and we'll have a taste. So it's been a little while and my icing is now set up. So I've cut a slice, and this is what the cake looks like on the inside. And it's speckled with the Earl Grey tea powder, as you can see. And I'll have a taste of the slice that I've cut. very, very nice. I'm just going to taste the cake without the icing. The first thing to say is that it is as light as a feather. Very, very light. But it does have that slight bergamot flavour that you get from the Earl Grey tea. And I can taste a hint of the orange zest as well. But I also still have in my mouth probably the orange from the icing. It's a very, very nice cake. Very easy to make actually. The only problem is the volume that I had was greater than my bundt tin needed. But it should fit into that bundt tin because King Arthur says that it fits into a 9x5 loaf tin, which is 6 cups, the same as the bundt tin. So maybe I whipped my batter and it was slightly too light. But if you do the same as I did, you simply, if you have more batter than you need, don't fill the tin quite to the top. Leave about an inch and allow it to grow. It may be slightly different in a loaf tin, and if you do it in a loaf tin, make a line down the centre with a knife before you put it into the oven. That will actually encourage the split that usually appears on loaf cakes to split straight down the centre and then spread outwards slightly. So it's a very easy recipe, a very tasty recipe. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.